Alright, Stan Hatch. This is my 68 Chevelle Malibu. It's not an SS. It's convertible. I've had it since 1994. I went to go look at a 65 GTO convertible that was a disaster, and I stumbled upon this. So in 1994, this was $5,500. Drove it home, and we've had it ever since. Probably the most fun we've had with a $5,500 investment. Buy it. It's a barn find. It just came out of that barn, and I want $60,000 for it.
We should have left the dust on it.
Yeah, I shouldn't have wiped it off. But it's a driver. It's fun. It's a 4-speed that we blew up in the street one day. And Rich Wilk charged me an arm and a leg to repair, but she holds up pretty good now. It's not a show car, but it's fun to drive. Whenever I go to sell it, everybody gives me a hard time because you can't replace them anymore. Like, what am I going to do? Go on Barrett Jackson and buy somebody else's headache? So it's done. It's turnkey. It's fun to drive, and someday my son and then my grandson will get it if he gets tired of the Novas. It's a big block Chevy with a Muncie M21. It's got a 12-bolt with a spool in it. We did some chassis modifications, stuff that, you could have bought a Hotchkiss rear suspension kit for it, but in '94 when we were messing around with it, we just boxed in the rear control arms, put different rear springs in it. The front, we cut a coil out of it, lowered it a little bit, and put cheap shocks on it, so it would do the weight transfer a little bit easier, and put a set of ladder bars on it. The motor is, was supposed to have a blower on it, but then kits came along. So it's a low compression 396, so Ford 30 over. It's got a good cam in it. I didn't want to get caught up in the whole insurance debacle back then with any modifications, so we didn't put headers or anything on it. We just made it look as stock as possible for 1968, but she goes pretty good.
Who did the head work?
Ralph Troopy. He was still alive. It was TK Performance, and he did all the head work for it. I have more in the heads than I do in the whole rest of the motor. T4 carburetors did the carburetor. Rich Wilk did all the tuning on it. It's a good, dependable, everyday driver. Get in it, go wherever you want to go.
Tell them about when you were keeping it in Grandpa's garage.
It had a rear main leak when we first bought it, so I asked him if I can fix the rear main in his garage. He said, sure. So I pulled the motor out of it, and I saw the body bushings underneath the front half of the car were gone. They weren't even there. You could see just the bolts. So we lifted the body off the frame. I used an old pop-up camper frame. The camper was gone. I slid that underneath the body, lowered it back down. He came home from work, peeked his head in the garage and says, wow, that must have been one heck of an oil leak. Because the body was on one side of the garage, the frame was on the other, and the motor was on the engine stand. But we had it back together, I want to say, within that winter, because we had it back on the road for summer. Joe Carter painted the frame, the rear, the control arms, all that stuff for us. And we just slid it all right back under the original body that I bought the car in '94. It's supposed to be Triple E's turquoise. Someday when I hit the lottery, we might go back to that color. But for now, this is, throw the grandkids in it. You don't care if anybody bumps up against it.
Well, isn't that why they painted it? Wasn't there some story about the kids or something?
The original owner sold it to the nephew, but they kept it in a garage. And when the kids ran up and down one side of the car with bicycles and stuff, so it was all scratched up. So when the uncle said, take it to a body shop, see how much it costs to paint it. Well, they were afraid that they wouldn't be able to match the Triple E's turquoise just on one side of the car, so they said, we'll paint the whole car. And the kid, that's all he cared about, was he wanted to get rid of that, light greenish turquoise color and, paint it this color. And we're not even really sure what color it is.
Tell them about the transmission that originally was in the car.
It was, the guy owned a '67 Corvette, the original owner that went to go buy this. And the Corvettes had a little T handle to lift up and get it over into reverse. And the wife had a hard time driving that. So she said, you know, when they went to go look at this, it had the big block in it. It had the 12 volt in it. But she didn't want another 4-speed that was hard to get it in reverse. So this car actually had a heavy-duty Saginaw 3-speed transmission with the big block in it. So that's what they bought, because reverse was straight up. Back in '68, you can order anything you wanted. You wanted a floor shifter on a 6-cylinder, you probably could have gotten it. The dealers probably would have installed anything back then. So that's what made it so easy to go from, you know, the 3-speed manual to the 4-speed. And the 4-speed manual I actually got from the neighbor who was doing a '67 Chevelle. I did the rear suspension for him. He put an automatic in the car and gave me the M21 with the fine spline. So, you know, it was an exchange of labor, and then I blew that up. But, you know, these things, they, you know, back when I was growing up, they were a lot easier to work on. You know, if this wasn't so expensive to maintain now, you can actually drive these every day, repair them every day, and keep them on the road for another 20, 30, 40 years.
Yeah, the bodies rot off before the drivetrain ever stops.
Yeah. And this is a 50-year-old car, and the body's still in pretty good shape for being 50 years and not being put in a garage back in '68 to '82. So there you go. That's pure American steel that was built to last, and we don't do that anymore. It's a shame. But for those of us who have these, they're irreplaceable now, and you know they cost a lot of money for parts. Parts are rare, but you know with the Nova, we're going to go down fighting with electric cars because take this out, open up that 754 barrel, it's like flushing a toilet, and I really don't care what OPEC thinks. If I want to hit 6,000, 7,000 RPMs, I can do that, and you can feel it. I'm not feeling that in an electric car. You know, the only thing I'm going to feel in an electric car is the heat from the fire when it bursts into flames, and you can keep that. So anybody who's got these, hold on to them, enjoy them, drive them. You know, that's the coolest thing about having my son interested in this is seeing him, you know, getting his hands dirty, putting these things together, and you know, holding on to part of American history, feeling that horsepower in the seat of your pants. You know, you don't get. I don't care if you're in a Jack Roush brand new Mustang, you're not getting that feeling unless you're in one of these. You feel it. You feel everything. Power disc front brakes and drums in the rear. And all I did, everything underneath the car is brand new. All brand new bushings, control arm bushings, body mounts, sway bar bushings, all ball joints. And they were all upgraded to polygraphite, all new bearings, rotors, drums, shocks, and everything underneath the car is brand new. The motor,
brand new 35 years ago.
Yeah. And actually, when we were just driving it today, I was looking at the mileage, 18,000 change, and we all know it's 118,000. But I'm going to look at the title. I honestly think if I remember correctly, when I bought the car, it was 114,000. So honestly, we've only put 4,000 to 5,000 miles on this car since I've had it since 1994.
4,000 hard miles.
Yeah. They're the third set of tires.
Thanks for letting us come check out your car and film it and drive the crap out of it.
Yeah, just take care of it when I'm gone.
No promises. I mean, I'll hold on to it, but I can't promise.
Yeah, we have to look into that rev limiter because it's It wasn't working just now.
All right, well, that's going to be it for this episode. Make sure you guys like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Don't burn out on the street when we get out.
That was a pretty good one.
It was first and second. And I ran out of road.